and welcome back to another episode of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, the show where we talk about all the crazy stupid stuff that people do in marketing and how you cannot do crazy stupid stuff, but instead do smart, awesome stuff. And today we have, fortunately for you, unfortunately for the marketing industry, a conversation where a lot of crazy, stupid stuff happens. And so we are talking about direct response marketing today. And we're gonna create some definitions and some framework around that for everybody. But at the end of the day, I'm a big believer that marketing should deliver something for your business. It should not just be a cost center. It should do something for you. And when we're looking at direct responses to our marketing, this is an area where we can learn much and extrapolate into other areas. It's also an area where people can get caught up in doing frivolous activities very easily that don't actually generate responses. And we're going to break it all down and break it all up and twist back together what's actually meaningful to keep there. If you are a first-time viewer of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, welcome to the show. You are experiencing something a little bit different than you might experience on other, I don't even want to call them other conversational platforms, because most other places where you're learning about these things is not conversational. It's like stuffing information down your throat. This is a place where we open up. So we diverge instead of converge into an answer. We diverge into thinking and trying on and experimenting and what ifs. And this is not just an opportunity for the two faces that you see on the screen to do those things, but it's also an opportunity for you to do those things. So if you are watching us live, there's this handy dandy chat wherever you're watching. And if you're here, we would love for you to get into the conversation. So share your perspectives, questions, insights, questions, concerns, all the things that can make our conversation more robust. And of course, if you are not new to the show, we would love for you to do that too. This is not just for the first timers who can get into the chat. We would love everyone to get into the chat if you are a returning listener. And thank you so much for being a returning listener, and welcome back. All right, with all of that stuff out of the way, let's learn a little bit about our guest today, the great Peter T. Britton, who's also referred to often on the show as the curmudgeon, especially in the panel conversations. But before I create too much framing for you, which might point you down a specific path of who Peter is, let's let him influence that a little bit. So Peter, tell us about yourself and why you found your niche in direct response marketing.
Thank you, Tracy. Well, I think to be titled a curmudgeon, you must A, have lots of gray hair, and B, have lots of scars from making thousands of errors and hopefully learning from half of them, maybe more. But yes, Peter T. Britton. I am right now a freelance direct response copywriter. I began my career in this business in the late 1980s, which means I was born and raised on direct mail and magazine advertising and TV advertising and some radio advertising, all direct response, all ended with a call to action that said, come and buy this product or sign up for this, fill in the blank. Over the years since then, I have done everything except design. I am not a designer, cannot draw a straight line with a ruler, but everything from setting up telemarketing centers to cashiering centers to fulfillment centers to media buys to print purchasing to I was the guy who actually at one point used to go and do the press checks at the printing press, which I don't think anybody does anymore, but they should do your press checks. And in the last several years, I've focused a lot of online marketing simply because so many people have foolishly abandoned direct mail. Don't do that. Still do direct mail. It works. It works. And it makes you money. But a lot of what I do now is email marketing, landing pages, squeeze pages, those type of things. I am not a content writer. I do write the occasional blog, but there is a difference between content writing and copywriting. We used to say that content tells and copy sells. And that's a good way to frame how I do what I do.
Okay, Peter, so let's start there and kind of like at the higher level of this actually you mentioned calls to action, so I would love to talk about calls to action because I think a lot of people make calls to action that do absolutely nothing for them. So
Yes.
when we're talking about this concept of a call to action, what are some things that go into people accepting your call to action? Because I can shout a call to action at a whole bunch of different people.
One of the things I notice this a lot, and it kind of freaks me out when I see it. People in call to actions think everything has to have the word "you" in it. You need to click here. You should do this. You should sign up here. You click here and you'll get this. In a lot of instances, a great call to action, especially on a website, should be in the first person. I want this, because that reinforces that human need to get that. So framing it as, I want a new pair of shoes. I want to look great at the party. I want to have insurance that'll secure my child's future. I want encourages a greater response. And just saying, click here is a command. And I command someone to buy my product or sign up for something. I ask them gently, or even better, I remind them that they need to say in their own head, I need this.
This is really interesting because there's many templates that float around the marketing industry, website templates being some of the many. And I can't tell you if I've seen one that in its like button template says anything about I want. And I think it's really interesting to even like using the word want versus need, because I feel like in this call to action arena, a lot of times people get mixed up too. And they're like, well, I, as the creator of this product or solution, know that you need this, right? So I don't want to put want on my button. I want to put need. I need this today. Well, do you need it today? Do I need it at all? But how many things do we buy that we want that are things that are not things that we need? I think there's a huge opportunity for people, businesses, to look at the like want and desire for their product instead of just saying like, I'm here, I've created this to fill this gap, so I know that you need it, right? Like, I don't know that you need it. I do want to provide it for people who want it though.
Well, I think if you look at the statistics, and again, one of the great things about direct response marketing is it is 50% art and 50% science. You have to look at data to be able to build the art. And in for example, with emails, if you're getting a 1 or 2% open click rate, click to open rate, 3 to 4 or 5%, people are they're happy as anything. They're setting up the parade and popping the champagne corks. Think about the fact that 95% of the people did not like you. They weren't interested. 95%. How do you think that you have convinced them by saying you want this, you need this? Okay, so be very careful about that concept in your head of everybody loves my product and everybody's going to want it. No, 95% are going to walk out the door. In a retail environment, if you're not getting 50% of the customers in your store to buy something, if you're running a shoe store, if you're not getting at least 50% of the people who walk in the door to walk out with a pair of shoes, you're going to be in trouble. In marketing generally, and direct marketing specifically, if I got a 50% response, I'd retire. So I think that mindset of, we are telling these people that they need something, that's yes, Okay, that's a very nice thought. Keep it in your head. In your marketing, ask them to want this and remind them that they want this, because we buy off the emotion of, I want to fill in the blank. I want to be thinner. I want to be taller. I want to be more attractive. I want to drive faster. And they're thinking in those terms.
Mhm.
So if you're talking in the same terms that your prospect is thinking of, things will go along much smoother.
Okay, so can we talk about educating our buyers for a minute? Because I feel like this is something that has become so popular. And again, I think at some point someone was like, you should have 20% of your content be educating content and 20% of your content be blah, 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 blah. And so there's a lot of people, I think, especially people who either have like a very complex offer, maybe like an intangible to some degree, like authenticity, I think falls into that category. I mean, more happiness, more joy, these types of things. Also, people who have a like very technical product. So if you are a technology and you have like all of these features, I've seen it very common that people are like, well, I just need to educate my audience. I need to educate them to the point where they care about. An interesting one that I came across not too long ago was an app for diabetes, and it helped people to assess whether or not you had diabetes. And my question was like, how would someone know to go and look for an app if they aren't suspecting that they have diabetes, right? Like, why would they get this? And I kind of stumped the guy. But the point is, like, I feel like a lot of times people are like, well, they wouldn't, but I will educate them. I will educate them to the point where they will know that this is what they want. And so can we talk a little bit about this? Is that a distraction? Is that something we can actually do? Or is it distracting us from, like, what if we just focused on the people who want what we have now?
Well, one of the things that, and this bothers me, there's a whole idea of, I can't, for example, in an email, and I'll go back to the email example. It bothers me tremendously that people will write a very long email, and then in the very last line, somewhere right down at the bottom, they'll put in a call to action.
Because I got to tell the whole story first, right?
Why do you have to tell the whole story? There are such a thing in our world, people, a whole collection of them, called impulse buyers. They see it, they want it. They don't need, because either they have had other information about the product from a friend, from a cousin, from reading about it somewhere else, or they simply look at it and fall in love with it. They just say, that's the dog I want. I see a Labradoodle. I want a Labradoodle. I'm going to go buy a Labradoodle. You don't have to educate me about Labradoodles. I want one. I'm in love with a Labradoodle. So it is one of our requirements upon us to give those people the opportunity to make a click early,
Right.
to say early, even in the first contact, early in the first contact, hey, if you love that headline, if that headline convinced you, then you just have to click here to be able to sign up. You don't have to read through the whole thing. Give them that impulse opportunity, because one of the true gifts that we can give to all of our customers is time.
Mm.
If we can give them the gift of time, if we can allow them to say, instead of spending 6 minutes reading my email to get to the CTA, I can have the CTA in the first 30 seconds. If you've already made up your mind there, I read recently on LinkedIn, you must only have one email CTA. Cannot have more than one CTA in an email. No, 3. Have one at the top, have one in the middle, have one at the bottom. Add one in the PS if you have a PS. Give them 3 opportunities. First of all, 3 is a good number because, as we all know, 3 is the human number.
Or 3 strikes you're out.
The 3 number is just, it's everywhere. But give them 3 opportunities. Give them that early opportunity, because by the 3rd paragraph, you may have sold them already. And if you're going to wait all the way to the end, you're asking them to spend time before they spend money. So I think it's imperative upon us as marketers to give them that opportunity early.
I think this is so interesting because I don't know that a lot of people would like sit back and necessarily think of it, but there's so many things that we spend our money on to save time. Right? This is why Amazon has a business model.
Yes.
Right? I don't want to go to the store. I don't want to wait for delivery. I want it to come to my house and I want it to come fast.
Yes.
When we are writing our emails, because I feel like we get into this convincing mode. Well, I have to convince you before you will do a thing. But then I feel like that's a dangerous mindset to go into any like writing activity when it comes to marketing.
Well, it does if, and this is an enormous if you haven't identified your audience correctly. If I'm talking to strangers, yes, I need to spend a little more time explaining what I do and what I have. But if I'm talking to people who understand what I have, and not necessarily my version of it, but the general concept of it, it's easier to sell a car to somebody who understands cars than someone who's never seen a car before, because they're going to have 60 million questions that the salesman probably can't answer. But if I go up to someone who's owned cars for the last 20 years and I go over the features of this car, it's like, yeah, I got it. Let's close. What's the deal here? What kind of deal are you going to give me? I can get right to the deal a lot quicker because they understand the language we're talking. So if you don't understand your target, if you don't understand your audience, forget it. You're going to spend all your time explaining who you are and what the hell you do.
But Peter, hasn't everyone done all those free templates that you can get on the internet of your ideal client profile? I know exactly who my client is. It's women in their 50s who have never had a dog. Is there something that we missed when we were doing those activities?
I promised you a prop. Did I not say I was going to bring props? I'm going to show you a prop here. This is a product called a life hammer. Now, it has on these 2 ends here are little sharp point things made for breaking windows on a car. This is for cutting the seatbelt on your car. So if your car goes into a ditch of water or goes upside down, you can't get out because all the electronics are gone. You can't pop things open. You can't unloosen your seatbelt because you're pressed up against it. You take your life hammer, which mounts in your car, cut the seatbelt, smash the window, and out you get. You're saved. They sold 5 million of them in Europe. They sold 500,000 of them in Japan. My client imported 15,000 of them into North America because we drive cars everywhere. So we've got to have life hammers. I think we sold maybe 100 because, and as I explained to the client, we were trying to sell the curative, the preventative, and people buy the curative. They don't care if I'm going to get a cold. I want a pill that's going to cure the cold.
Right.
So the life hammer will cure you after the accident. I can't count the number of people who said, I'm never going to be in an accident like that.
Right.
Well, somebody is. So what you have to do is, and you hear the term all the time, building your sales funnel. This is critical, but got to build a sales funnel. Well, from my vantage point, I like to think of the other funnel, the people funnel. Think of your market as a funnel. Who am I talking to? At the top of the funnel is everyone. We used to like to say that the phone book is full of prospects. What I need to find are the suspects.
Hmm.
So in your people funnel, you're trying to find the most likely suspects. Who has opportunity, who has motive, who has means.
Hmm.
So I'll say, for example, Tracy is going to be selling ladies' shoes, high class ladies' shoes. So at the top of the funnel are all the people in North America. All right, she's only going to sell it in Canada. So it's all the people in Canada, 40 million people. She's selling it online. So 40 million people in Canada. Let's eliminate the children. Let's eliminate the men. And let's probably eliminate women over 75 because her high class shoes aren't going to be they might want them, but I don't want the mites. I want the yes, I do's. So now we're down to a limited number of women. So they'll drop down. Let's eliminate all the women who are still in school because they probably can't afford Tracy's $1,000 shoes. So let's eliminate all those school aged. Everyone's going to school. So now we're dropping down a little bit more. Let's eliminate all the people who aren't working. We know they're not working, therefore they're retired. Well, anyone who's retired, let's eliminate those. We're dropped down a little bit more. Let's eliminate everybody from the province of Quebec because Tracy doesn't want to build a website that's in English and in French. She only wants an English one. So let's eliminate the Quebec people. Okay, we're down a little bit more.
Just in case this is ever reaching anybody in Quebec, I'm not actually making that decision.
No. I understand, but it's just that
I just want to confirm.
Yes, let's confirm. So we've eliminated that. Now, with some people, it's I'm going to go on the web and I'm going to be everywhere. Yes. Are you going to accept euros as payment? Are you going to expect Indian rupees as payment? No. What are you going to do then? So, yeah, you have to eliminate down by region sometimes. I'm going to eliminate everybody who doesn't have internet connection. That's a little bit more. I'm going to eliminate everybody who doesn't own a credit card because I don't want people to send me cash or checks. So I only want the credit card people. I'm going to eliminate everyone who lives in a rural community because they're less likely to buy my $1,000 shoes. I've narrowed it down. Now I've got a target of women probably between the ages of 30 and 55-ish who are employed or have a credit card. They might have a family, but they have a credit card. They're either gainfully employed or they're making enough to pay their bills all the time. The last question I'm going to say, where do they go online? Where do they live online? What are the things that they're looking at online that I can say that's relational to what my shoes are going to be with? Well, they probably are going to clothing stores online that are a little higher end. They're going to the H&M online. They're not going to Army and Navy online. They're going to maybe the finer food sites online that are going to teach finer recipes, because to be able to afford all the gadgets you need in the kitchen and all the food you need to make those fancy recipes, you have to have the disposable income. You have to have the means, opportunity, and desire. As long as now I've targeted down to the people who are most likely, the suspects, not the prospects, but the suspects. Now I can start targeting them and say, I don't have to use the big explanation of my shoes are with Italian leather. You know what Italian leather is. I don't have to explain how they grow Italian leather. I could just say Italian leather. You know Italian leather. I don't have to explain what handmade is. You know what handmade is. In Canada, you understand that. So I can drop in the terminology, and therefore I'm actually writing less and explaining and connecting more.
I think that's a really interesting, I think that's another thing that people forget, right? That if we are very clear on who we're talking to, we can say less to them, and it resonates more. Not I have to say a lot in order for something to resonate, which might be true to somebody who's not in your ideal audience. But in the case of our ideal people, this is not true.
It's like the conversation we have about AI copy and content, and there's this huge debate on LinkedIn. Do M dashes or this thing identify AI? Do you really think Larry Lunchpail sits there and says, ooh, 37 M dashes. This must be AI. It's like inside baseball. It's really great for us to talk about it. Mary Jones in home she doesn't really care about that.
Well, and I think this we're not going into the M dash debate because
No,
we're
we're
not.
not.
A lot of people writing a lot of things before AI that used M dashes. So like, can we
Yes, exactly. I used M dashes.
I use M dashes. I had an employee who like only used M dashes, and then I'm like, I don't think that this is correct all the time, but she used M dashes before.
Yes.
ChatGPT.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to the comments here quickly because we got some good comments and a question. So Ben, hello Ben. This is always good to disqualify people. Peter, there are far more of those people than there are people with the need, want, and ability to buy your product or service. Accurate, exactly what we just talked about. And Kyle has a question. I'll get my face above the question. Do you believe there is more value in showing what something is all about rather than directly trying to teach? For example, as a service provider, showing clips from a class or session that shows the audience what it's all about without needing to describe it and teach about it, or is there a need for both?
I'd say that the old lesson in direct marketing used to be show it is easier than tell it.
Mhm.
If I'm selling lipstick, I show people before and after with lipstick. If I'm selling weight loss, I show before and after with weight loss. Showing beats just teaching. I think the problem with the teaching aspect is sometimes teaching turns to preaching.
Mm.
And the vast majority of people do not like to be preached to.
Facts.
Unless it's something they already believe in.
Right.
So if they already believe in them, you don't need to preach to them. So why are you preaching to them anyway? So teach is good. Show is often better. Well, I know that in direct mail, for example, if you're selling a product or a service, if you don't have a picture of a human being either using your service or enjoying the benefits of your service or product, you won't win. You won't get the orders you want. You need to show something that people can say, that's me. I can put myself in that picture. So when you're teaching something, it's much more difficult to have them put themselves in the picture. Showing them allows them to say, yeah, I can see me there.
Yeah. Okay. I love this. I want to talk about teaching versus helping because I feel like there is teaching that helps, and then there's teaching that just in Kyle's example, right? So maybe you're like, I'm a dance teacher, right? So I was a dance teacher for a long time. I could record something that I have done and show it to people. And theoretically, it can teach them. It can teach them to do this set of moves. But I think that teaching isn't necessarily helping unless you're talking to the correct people also. Thoughts?
If you're teaching dancing, you must agree that a major part of any dancing is the personal interpretation of that dancer.
True.
You can teach the steps. You can show the steps, but you have to encourage the personal input of the student. You have to be able to say, not just this is how it works. You have to say, this is how you will work with it. I will give you no matter how intricate it is, I'm still going to give you basics because without your personal impact, I mean, think of any piece of software that you get. You buy a software, you download it. There is a manual that comes with it. How many people actually read the manual that explains all the features of that piece of software? None.
Like 2 people.
Yes, the guys who wrote it and the guy who translated it from the foreign language. So the title I used to get at an agency that I worked at for a while was Mr. Plug and Play. I'd take it in, I'd load the software, and I'd just figure out what I needed from the software. So teaching you is good to show you the basic steps. Here's how to, here's if you're teaching ballet, here's first position, here's second position, here's third position. But once you start to move and once the music starts to play, you have to have the internal creativity and desire and need and want to dance.
Mm.
And that's the problem with a lot of teaching. It eliminates that part of, here's the basics and then go away and do it. No, 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 no. You have to encourage that. Here's what you can do with it.
Mm.
Here's what you can do with it. Think for yourself what you can do with this.
I think we just solved the problem of public schooling in case anybody was wondering about it. You guys can come back and reference this later. But I think this is, again, like any word that we use, teach, help, show, right? Like even in those words, there's individual interpretation. And then I think that is the thing that's really interesting to even look at. Okay, one quote unquote marketing guru might say, make sure 20% of your content is education based. Right? So like, but what does that mean to you? What does that mean to your clients? What does it mean to actually teach? Do I need to turn on their creativity? Am I turning on their creativity? I'm just giving them a bunch of stuff to like add to their library. Are they people who are just trying to add to their library? There's like so much depth of conversation that's available there. And I think a lot of times, because of humans' desire to be pulled towards what is easier, we think like, we'll just like, I'll teach you. I'll just teach you. But I think all of us have been, I'm thinking about the like, I'm going to put it in air quotes again, training that I received in negotiation. And like, yeah, I get the value of being able to negotiate. And I like consumed all of this training from the perspective of like, I would never do that. And so then I don't use it because it's not what I would do. But I also don't think we all have a good amount of practice in taking that information from a what I would do perspective.
I think rule one of marketing should be there is no magic bullet. No, there is no.
Can we all say it louder for the people in the back?
There is no magic bullet. There is no.
If somebody is telling you that what they do or what they're selling is a magic bullet, it is snake oil.
Yes, absolutely. I thoroughly enjoy watching where the senior vice president of international relations for Microsoft is going to come and give a seminar on how to stack books on a shelf. Okay, so yes, you may be an expert at doing that for a company of that size. How does that help me if I have a brand new website that's selling hats that my mother knits, and now I'm trying to sell those? Where's the relation that I should take this multi-jillion-dollar company and use it as my model for? No, that's not a magic bullet for me. That's a bullet in the head. So understand that if you what you were saying, we talked before about teaching. The best teachers teach you how to learn. So what you need to get are the basic understanding of the things you need to do, and then the ability to learn how to do them more or better. Mm. Then you own the magic bullet for your situation, not for somebody else's.
Right. You are the magic bullet. You heard it here first, folks. And Ben is saying curses to the Staples Easy Button. Which though is interesting, right? Because like we know this people are looking for easy. So then I'm gonna say we are the easy button, right? Like just come here, you can get all your things.
My wife and I have this conversation constantly. There are two you have two choices in everything you do in life: convenient or correct.
Mm.
Correct usually takes longer and has to take into account other people's feelings, actions, desires, needs, outcomes. Convenient just means me.
Right.
It's easy for me. I'm going to do it. It makes me richer. I don't care about it. Basically, convenience says I don't care about anyone else.
Mm.
Correct says I've taken into consideration others. And I think in our marketing efforts, it's easy to be convenient. I'm
Yeah.
just going to throw up a website because I'm too lazy to put in the time to think about what other people are going to do when they come to my website.
Hey, I'm just going to let AI write my copy for me because it's
It's easy. Exactly. So I think that idea of thinking before you're marketing of
Mm.
what's the correct things to because okay, marketing's job is quite simple. Our job is to lead horses to water. Our job is to lead thirsty horses to good water. Sales job is to get them to drink the water. So how do we identify those thirsty horses? How do we take into consideration the convenient way? You know, take a picture of a field. When a horse runs in, I'll know there's a horse there. No, the correct way is go out into the field and look for horses.
And you might
So
find cows. You might
you
find
may
sheep.
find cows, and you know what? Sometimes cows are thirsty too.
It's true. I think this is like, I love what Kyle is sharing here in the comments, but there's been so much hype around needing to stand out in your market. Are we trying too hard to stand out among the crowd? I mean,
Well,
like, I would say we're still not trying hard enough to stand out.
okay. My question here would be, what stand out? If you walk through an airport and there's a gentleman walking through the airport who is 7 feet 4 inches tall, he stands out. But what do most people think of him?
That he's a basketball player.
That he's a basketball player or a freak.
Mm.
There's something odd about him.
Mm.
Do I want my potential customers to think I'm a freak or just a basketball player? Is that what they want me to think of? Do they want me to think of me as a company or individual or entity that supplies good products as quickly as possible at reasonable prices that are guaranteed to work? And if you don't, you get a refund. So if you're trying to stand out in all of those things, you're going to stand out in none of those things.
Right.
So standing out for one thing, Cracker Barrel stands out because they changed their logo and everybody got upset. Well, that made them stand out. Did it make more people go to Cracker Barrel? I
Debatable.
don't know. I doubt it. I think all the people who like going to Cracker Barrel went back to Cracker Barrel because they like the food, they like the price, they like the service.
And they didn't care about the logo.
They didn't care about the logo. So we get again back to that inside baseball. We get so inside our own. We must stand out. No, I only want to stand out to the people who are most likely to buy my product or my service. Those are the people I want to stand out to, not to everybody in the world.
I think this is a really great point because I think when a lot of people interpret the concept of standout, we think it means stand out amongst everybody in every industry in every country, which is not possible. So we reach for it and then it's empty calories. But we don't, Ben is saying really great, like, phrase here. We all have a level of differentiation in that we solve unique problems for unique customers. However you present this either is embraced or ignored. And I'll use my headphones as an example, right? Like my headphones are pink headphones. There's a lot of people who say a lot of things about, like, a lot of people comment on my headphones, but not everybody comments on my headphones because my headphones stand out to some people. And my headphones, actually, my coach also has pink headphones. So we like match on that scenario. There's a difference between like standing out. Oh, you're the girl who walks around the lake with the pink headphones. I am, in fact, the girl who walks around the lake with pink headphones. So they're like, does that do anything for me though? I mean, it's nice that my like neighbor's dad noticed, right? But yeah, I think standing out is another thing that we can get like very caught up in.
Has anybody ever come up to you and said, Tracy, I want you to be my coach because you wear pink headphones?
No.
Then
0 times.
Then what is the value of that outstanding standing out?
I mean, well, I will say it's because I've had people been like, "Oh, LinkedIn Tracy, you're LinkedIn Tracy," because I have my picture is the same as the headphones. Yeah. But like again, that knowledge or insight doesn't lead to somebody being like, "Now I need you to coach me in marketing." No.
But what it does is it actually forms part of your uniform. And in our world, uniform is very important. That ability, that idea of, this team wears this uniform. Therefore, that's who I identify. I see the Montreal Canadiens crest. I know instantly that's the Montreal Canadiens. I see Toronto Maple Leafs crest. I know that's instantly Toronto. And if I have one favorite or the other, I instantly say, I'm gonna veer towards that crest that I like more because I like that team for whatever reason. So that's the uniform. There have been many studies that show that when people go into hospital, if they are wearing hospital gowns versus pajamas, their own come from home pajamas, the ones wearing hospital gowns report feeling sicker than those who wear their own pajamas because they're in the uniform of a hospital patient, not someone in bed. Mm-hmm. So they've adapted. If you put someone in a policeman's uniform, 9 times out of 10, they will act in a more aggressive, assertive manner because I have the uniform of a policeman on. That's how you stand out to identify. And all it does is tells everyone around, this is how I'm acting. This is how I'm going to be acting. So if you're standing out is, we're Microsoft 2. We're their competitor. We're the Avis to their budget. We're the biggest, next biggest guy. You better be. You can't be just wearing the uniform of it and say you are, because people are going to say, okay, I want 100 million widgets in the next 30 days. Can you deliver? No, we can only do 10. Well, we need 100 million. Right. And now you've blown your cover and all you've done is ruin your reputation forever.
Oh, so many things happening that don't help our reputation, but damage our reputation. Yep. And we're not going to go in that direction today. Maybe that's a topic for another show. That sounds like a good one for a panel, actually. But I do want to, because we're talking about direct response, and at the end of the day, we want to, there's some result that we're going for if we're talking about direct response. So I don't want to miss out on this idea about the tracking.
Yes.
Because we need to be able to prove that this is doing something.
Well, it actually serves 2 purposes. First purpose tracking does is allows you to, as you say, get response results. It tells you how many people clicked opened your email, clicked your email, clicked on a link in your email, clicked on which link in the email. So you know all those statistical, that's science part of direct marketing. But tracking also can tell you something else. Tracking can tell you how people got to you. In direct mail at the top, somewhere near the order form, there's always going to be a key code, and a key code will tell the mailer what list that person was on. So I'll mail 5 lists, I'll have 5 different key codes. If I get more orders from list 1 than list 4, I will go back and use more of list 1 and less of list 4. So tracking where they came from is really critical. And I've run into so many clients who say, well, I can't do that kind of tracking back because I take ads on the sides of buses, or I do radio ads. How do you do and all we're doing is asking them to phone a number to make an appointment. How do I possibly track that? And I says, well, this is how I do it. I will say, to make an appointment to see Peter Britton, call 1-800-999-9999 and ask for operator 7. And then when I run the ad on another station or on another bus, I'll say, ask for operator 9. When the call comes in, it's all going to the same person. Hi, this is Peter Britton Incorporated. How can I help you? Hi, I'd like to speak to operator 9, please. That's me. I'm operator 9. When the next person calls in with operator 6, I'm operator 6. But I made a little tick mark next to 6 and 9. So now I know which one did it. On a website, it is so easy to make mirrored websites of your basic page. peterbritton.com/NBC/CBC/PBS. I run 3 ads. The ad tells you to go to peterbritton.com/NBC. Everybody who goes onto that page saw the ad on NBC. If you're just running a store or an office and you have walk-in traffic, the person who greets them at the door or the front desk simply says, "Hi, Tracy. May I ask you a quick question? How did you decide to come to us today? What encouraged you to come to us? Did you see an ad? How was it?" Well, Tracy says, "A friend stopped here or shopped here, and she told me to come by. Customer referral. Oh, I saw your ad in the newspaper the other day, and I thought I'd give you a try." Newspaper ad. You're always keeping those scores of tracking of where they, and once you identify where the most of your people are coming from, you do more marketing in that arena. If they're all coming in from one radio station between 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning, you better be taking more ads at 9 and 10 in the morning on that radio station. And then the next thing you do is find what's the next best. Is it another time on the same station? Is it another station at the same time? You start looking for parallels and equals. So that tracking can give you that intelligence that you can use the science of, okay, where'd they come from? So I can get more of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you got there, because so many, I think a lot of times we try to like overcomplicate this, right?
Yes.
Or we're going in with that mindset that we can't track it, so we're just going to not track it. But you can ask somebody. You can always ask somebody.
Yes.
Right? You can ask them, even if you didn't ask them in the marketing process or the sales process. Once they become a client, you could ask them. Right?
Yes.
So many people that I talk to have no idea why their clients chose them. And I was like, you can ask them. Like, it's not too late. Is there a statute of limitations on when you can stop asking people why they chose you?
I would imagine you're too young, but I know Ben's probably not too young to remember there was a time where there was a television commercial where it was a picture of someone, and I told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends, and the images kept growing, the number of pictures of friends, and they told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends. Well, how long would it take by telling 2 friends? So if I can tell you that I'm going to give you a bonus if you tell 2 friends, I'm going to give you a reward if you do a bit of marketing for me. Refer 2 friends to me. I'll give you a reward. I'll give them a smaller reward. And when they become customers, I'll tell me 2 more friends. Each tell me 2 more friends. And I'll give you a reward, and I'll give them a smaller reward. And I'm constantly giving these smaller rewards out. I can go forever like that, building my company just off word of mouth. Mm-hmm. Just off friends, telling friends, telling friends, telling friends. And there is no statute of limitations on that. It's just a matter of designing the idea and following through on it.
And I think too, I mean, just because in marketing too, I feel like people get distracted by so many things, right? We get distracted by likes and follows and all of these things. And at the end of the day, my business could be more productive and actually help more people if one really great customer sent 2 other great people my way. There's so much, again, layer in all of these levels of complexity, because we heard that we have to do this, or if you don't do this, then you're gonna go out of business. I need a way to get customers. If my way to get customers is that 2 friends of each of my customers comes, then that is good enough.
Yes, exactly. You'd say we try to overcomplicate things. I think it's because, as you said before, you have the guru who comes in and says, I have the magic bullet who's going to solve everything and make you into the gigantic company, and you're going to be the wealthiest person. You're going to be the next Elon Musk. No, you're not. You're not. Elon had a.
How many people actually want that anyways? I think we also get convinced then that's what we should want.
Even if you all wanted to do that, you couldn't do that. There's not enough customers out there with $1 million to give you to make you the next Elon. The only way you could become the next Elon Musk is if Elon's will included you at the first line. That would be the way. So you have to identify what your true goals are. You know, what kind of company do you really want to be? I've worked with some very small but incredibly successful companies simply because they were happy making lots of money doing simple things easily. And they just said, why should I build this big machine when I've got a machine that's making me happy? Why should I add all those headaches? And that's the problem with, in direct mail. I'll go back to my direct mail analogy. We always used to say that if I'm mailing more than 500,000 a month, I'm wasting time. I'm wasting money. I'm wasting energy. I'm wasting postage because I'm not reaching enough people to actually benefit. The additional 100,000 people aren't benefiting me that well, because if they were, they would have been in the first 500,000.
I think this was, we're running out of time, so I had to pull my questions back. Also, for anyone who is interested in the I Told Two Friends commercial, Ben put the link in the chat, so you can go check it out if you would like to do that. And he also shared, this is a good point, the statute of limitations is when you shut down the company, which might happen sooner rather than later if you are not asking your customers how they found you.
Or God shuts you down.
I mean, none of us can control that. Right?
That's right.
Kyle really has a comment again too. Thank you guys for all the comments. The gurus make it seem like it should be easy. And then when people are working through the very real process, they wonder what they're doing wrong. And I think the thing that's interesting too is what is our concept of easy, right? I think a lot of times we're assuming easy means I don't have to do anything, right? So now I've assumed that ease is that I don't have to drive to the store and I don't have to pick the groceries. I don't have to do anything. That's what makes it easy. But one of the things I've found super interesting in my authenticity work is that ease actually comes from doing what you would do. So it's not that I'm not doing anything. It's that I'm doing things. It's just the things are aligned with me. So it's easy doing instead of easy in the not doing. So I think that's interesting for us to look at, is if we're looking at these gurus, and very commonly the narrative is about, you don't have to do anything. I'm just going to build your authentic brand for you. Every time I hear that, please just label it snake oil. It's not a thing. It's not authentic to you if you didn't build it. We're not going to deep dive that. We can talk about it later. But that seems easier. But it also ends up feeling wrong and misaligned and mechanical and a whole bunch of other things that aren't easier. When we do the things we would do, then that's easy because we would do that anyway. So I think it's, again, coming back to how we define our terms. There's some space for us to grow in easy.
I've often said that there, in our culture today, two types of millionaires. There's sofa millionaires and there's kitchen table millionaires. And sofa millionaires sit on the sofa and hope that $1 million in a bag is going to fall through the ceiling of their home and land on them and not hurt them. The kitchen table millionaire is the one who will sit at the kitchen table and figure out what they can do, whether it's folding letters and sticking them in envelopes, or knitting hats, or making buttons. I don't care what it is, but they're going to do something that they enjoy doing, and they're going to sell it to make some money and make their $1 million. and they understand it's not easy. It's not easy. Easy street does not exist unless your daddy gave you $9 million. It just doesn't exist. So, and I think there's something a little rewarding in the effort. Being a little
aligned efforts, for sure.
Being a little bit hard makes it a little more enjoyable when you're through it, even when you're doing it. Yeah, I like to be challenged. I don't want it too easy, because if it's too easy, it ain't fun.
Well, and it reminds me of the great quote. It's not supposed to be easy. If it was supposed to be easy, everyone would do it. It's the hard that makes it great.
And that's the thing. Nowadays, everybody says they can do it. Or they say, what's worse, they say they can teach you how to do it. So no. Direct marketing in marketing is a great example of how a lot of effort and a lot of thinking and a lot of planning and a lot of science and a lot of art and a lot of hours goes into great results. Doing it fast, doing it quick, doing it easy almost never works. Almost never. There are the rarest occasions. Pet rocks. Pet rocks worked for some reason. There was no
good reason for that.
But if you think about it, the work they put into it, which TV stations to go on, what the results look like, how the tests work, how the creative worked. There was a lot of hard work.
Things in like, how do people feel when they have pets? How many people can't have pets because of allergies? But like, there was definitely research that went into it.
There was a lot smart going into something stupid, but it wasn't easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think this is the point, right? Like, easy. Yes, Staples, very successful advertising campaign with your easy button, even to the degree where Nicholas has now inherited an easy button from my aunt, which is hilarious. And it's like, that was easy. But what is easy? And let's be like very thoughtful about how we consider easy.
A quick anecdote about easy. I have a current client who sells health supplements through the mail. He was getting probably about a 5 or 6% refund request. And almost all of them were, my product hasn't showed up. I want my money back. And I said, well, that's weird. Let me look at the order form for a second. The order form did not say anything about delivery. People were expecting Amazon next day delivery. We're mailing it back to them. The client was mailing it back to them. So I put on the bottom of the order form, delivery will take between 10 and 14 days. Within a month, that refund request was down to 1%. Because we set expectations of easy that weren't the expectations of, everything's like Amazon. So it's got to be easy. It's got to be the next day. No, it's not the next day.
So, and again, expectation management, another episode, because also very important. I think we could be doing more of that. But Peter, because I feel like if I say something else, you're going to have another idea and we're going to keep talking. So we're going to stop it at this for today. But where is the best place for people to find you if they would like to continue the conversation about direct response marketing or anything else we talked about today?
To continue the conversation, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm there all the time, Peter T. Britton. You can visit, if you're just strictly interested in copywriting, it's peter-t-britton.com. Peter, like it's spelled, T. Britton, Britton.com. Dashes in between. And anyone who mentions that they saw us here today, I'll give them a special 1 hour free. I don't give consultations because to me, I'm not a consultant. I'm a resultant. So I'll give you 1 hour of free results-oriented ideas.
I will speak from personal experience that it has very high value. So if you're watching us here and you're not already connected to Peter, do that, because even if you think you don't have something you need to test that out on today, you do. And there's lots of great ideas that come out of the third brain that happens when you chat to Peter, which you can hear about on other episodes we've done. Peter, thank you so much for joining me today. Kyle and Ben, thank you so much for all of your comments and questions in the chat. And if you were joining us live today and you didn't get into the chat, or you're watching this on the replay and you do have questions, please feel free to put them into the chat and tag one of us. We will come back and we will answer any additional questions that you might have. And also on that note, if direct response marketing is something you're trying to improve right now, or you're looking at how to get better results from a Resultant in your marketing, don't let this be the last conversation. Don't let it be. Please let it be the first. Don't let it be the last conversation that you went on this. This is not the answer. This is the beginning of the conversation. So let it be the beginning of the conversation. Don't let it be the end. And with that, my friends, until next time, permission to do you. We'll see you soon.